What's up, friends? Happy Sunday. Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack a Day Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can follow the podcast at Pack a Day Podcast. Appreciate you guys being here. Quick shout out to new member Eamon. Appreciate you signing up, and thank you to all of you who have been signing up to become Pack a Day Podcast YouTube members. And appreciate all of you guys for tuning in 365 days a year. We are fresh off of Packers Minicamp Day 2, the last practice of Packers Minicamp 2024. Only 2 short days, but it was fun to get to see all of the rookies and, all of the tryout players, undrafted free agents, and some guys returning from a season ago as well. That was a really good couple days of practice, and actually that's kind of where I want to start. Wes Otkowitz actually summed it up perfectly. He tweeted out after practice, quote, "That felt like one of the most competitive Packers rookie minicamp orientations that I have covered. Several undrafted free agents and tryout players made plays, and I could not agree with them more." And obviously, Wes has been doing this, at least covering it in person, longer than I've been doing it. And I absolutely, over the past, I think 5-6 years that I've been able to cover it in person, this is as intense of a rookie mini camp, as energetic, competitive, some really interesting contributions from some undrafted players, and even from some tryout players. I was really impressed with the football acumen, how quickly they were able to pick things up. Even, just kind of getting through some of those team drills. Sometimes you get to those rookie mini camps and it's a little disjointed and things don't have a flow. These guys came ready to work, and the pacing and the energy was really good for 2 consecutive days. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment, but I thought Wes summed it up really perfectly. Today, I'm just going to kind of go through a lot of the different players and just kind of review my overall thoughts from kind of the last couple days, but some things that stood out to me on Saturday as well. I want to start with Jordan Morgan. I spent the vast majority of the day watching Jordan. I didn't get a ton of opportunity to see him on Friday, so I wanted to spend the vast majority of the day on Saturday. Kept a really close eye. I thought he had a fantastic practice on Saturday. Now we'll get the negative out of the way first. He did have a false start. Oh my goodness. He had a false start, and then I tweeted out he gets pulled from the team. That's standard practice. All right. So sometimes I forget that there's a connotation of things that people just don't understand from not being there every day. If you make a false start penalty in practice, you immediately get pulled out and somebody goes in your place. So it wasn't meant to be a big thing, but he did get pulled out for that play, went right back in the very next play. But outside of that one false start, I thought Jordan was really, really good in everything that they asked him to do. One of the things in the scouting report that I mentioned, that he was just I said weapon in my breakdown with him, but is getting out there on the screen plays. Now, they ran a double screen, one to the left side, one to the right, and he was off to the left side and just out of his stance, explosive going to the left. They threw to the right, so we didn't get to necessarily see how that conclusion would play out on the left side if Jordan Morgan was out there blocking. But just the explosiveness out of his stance and his ability to get out there with pace was super impressive, and it completely matched everything that we saw on tape while we were kind of going through and breaking down the all-22. Next, I thought he did a really great job, same as the scouting report, of getting to the second level. There was a run play where Ellis Merriweather was running off to the right-hand side, and he accelerates to that second level, gets on the linebacker, and is able to get to that linebacker so he can't go make the play on that running back. Just those things where I can't tell you how many times, and again, we're not going against all-stars here. I get that. I understand that. I'm not saying it's always necessarily going to translate to Sundays and Mondays, but I can't tell you how many times I'm watching tape the day after the game and seeing guys try to get to that second level, and they just can't make it to the linebackers, and the linebackers go and flow and make the play. And on this particular play, he just did a fantastic job of getting to that second level, getting to his man, and just getting enough of him so that he could not go and make that play on the running back. There was another play in the run game where Ellis Merriweather had a big explosive run where he completely sealed his man, got to his spot, got to exactly where he needed to on the field. Defender came at him, just sealed him off, and allowed this big alley. And the defender obviously tried to get off the block and try to, kind of at least get Jordan Morgan pushed back a little bit so that hole wasn't there. Nothing doing. Jordan Morgan sealed it off perfectly, and it allowed a explosive gain in the run game. And those were the type of things that we were seeing all day long for Jordan Morgan. There was another play where he displayed his ability to reset and anchor. And that was something that actually from the college tape wasn't always prevalent, that ability to anchor. Sometimes you would get beat. And he didn't even get beat here, but the defensive end just got a little bit of, not even pressure is the word, just got a little movement in the pass game and trying to get to the quarterback, kind of had to force Jordan Morgan to reset. And Morgan, no worries. Reset, anchored, defensive end tried to get around him, nothing doing, and Jordan Morgan completely stymied him. Another play where he works the defender right around the arc and just makes it so that, the quarterback is a clean pocket to step into. And this is another thing in college where sometimes he struggled with this and he just kind of kept balance. He kept his footwork and just worked him right around and nothing doing. Again, quarterback had a great pocket to step up into. So yeah, I thought overall, just his ability to seal in the run game, pull, get out in the screens, get to the second level, pass protection was good. Just a really, really solid day of work from Jordan Morgan. And outside of that false start, which again, he gets taken out for a play and then put right back in, I'm not sure what more I could have asked for him on this specific day. And again, we're not going against Rashawn Gary, LVN, Preston Smith, and those guys on day one and day two of practice here. But Keyshawn Banks is a player that was out there going against him on a couple plays. He was activated on the active roster a couple times a season ago. So we'll see. We'll see what he can do. But all you can do is go against the players that are across from you. And I thought specifically on Saturday, Jordan did a fantastic job and really took the necessary steps to get his career and just like those first practices off to the right start. Next, Javon Bullard. A couple things here. Nothing major taking away from Bullard's day. But number one, we were kind of questioning, where would he line up? Would he be in the slot where he would be, at a deep safety, post safety, free? Like, how would he be utilized? And let's be crystal clear. We're not saying that this is, we found his permanent position and now he's just stuck there. They're going to utilize him in a variety of different ways. But in 2 days of minicamp, they used him as a safety. And they used him and Evan Williams a lot on the field at the same time, interchangeable. So one would be up, other would be back, one would be up, other would be back. Sometimes they'd both be too high, and they used them in that safety role. I did see Evan Williams a couple times in the slot. We'll talk about that momentarily. I did not see Javon Bullard. Maybe I'm misremembering, or maybe I just didn't see a couple plays where he was in the slot. But I did not personally catch any plays where he was in the slot. Every time I watched him, he was at the true safety position. I did see him lined up outside one time. Tight end, I think, went out in motion out there, and he ended up out wide just covering the tight end on the play. But I did not see him any in the slot. So far, true safety for Javon Bullard. As I mentioned in my scouting breakdown of him, I do think that's his best position. Not that he can't play a role as a bigger nickel from time to time. I don't think full-time nickel is the best use of his abilities. There were just a couple things on tape that left me a little bit cautious of like, hey, maybe that's not his permanent role. But so far, he's been a safety, and I think that's probably going to continue with some variance and nuance where he does get, obviously, some time in the slot. I don't think it's going to be nothing, but we'll just have to kind of see as we go into minicamp and OTAs. He did have one really impressive play on a pass breakup, and he just kind of came screaming down from his safety position, made a play on the ball, batted it away, and we sort of saw that 4.40 speed and what I talked about in the scouting report of his attacking ability from that safety position and his ability to flow moving forward and attack moving forward. And we saw it on full display on this particular play as he was able to attack that ball, break it up, and force the incompletion on that particular play. Marshawn Lloyd, another player who I thought had a really nice weekend, and in particular, a really nice Saturday. He is really fun watching, play. He's compact, he's shorter, but he's got great lateral agility and fantastic burst. And then when you see him in the open field, you can see how some of these arm tackles just bounce off of him because he is so compact and well built. It's just kind of a really fun mixture of sort of like powers that he has, where again, it's kind of tough to locate him because he's a little bit shorter, but he's got great quickness. He's got good long speed. He's got burst, lateral agility. And again, with that compact build, it's tough to sort of wrap up and get your arms around him. Just like I said, a really, really fun player. He displayed his ability on one particular play to get tiny through the hole. And again, that's that small size, quick through the crease, and then the ability to explode once he got in the open field. That was on display. He had one play where he had this beautiful lateral jump cut. So he's going one way, and then just a quick lateral jump cut to kind of, give himself a better angle, and then a quick acceleration right after that. So again, just not only are we seeing these little things in bits and pieces, but we're seeing them string it together all in one particular run. And that's what can make you a special runner, is if all of a sudden you can use that small size to get through a small crease, and then use this beautiful lateral jump cut to gain more space, and then accelerate through and get to that open space. Like, those are the sort of things that can make you a special runner when you can sort of string some of those things together. We saw some of that on day 2 of rookie minicamp from Marshawn Lloyd, which is really, really exciting. We saw the burst in the acceleration in the open field, and And this is something that, showed up on tape as well. But I thought his acceleration in person, you could see it, like you could really see it to like, all right, this is not just something that maybe was fooling us on tape. Like you could very easily see the burst that he has in person. And that was a really fun aspect as well. And then I thought he caught the ball really well out of the backfield as well. And that was another really, is going to be an important aspect of his game. I know he didn't do a ton of it in college, but everything, when he was asked to do it, displayed that he could catch the ball cleanly, and just a lot of swing passes and things like that, where again, plucked the ball right out of the air and was able to transition up the field with relative ease. So nice day for Marshawn Lloyd as well. And next, I want to talk about Tyron Hopper and Evan Williams. By the way, you might have noticed I did not talk about Edgerrin Cooper as I'm kind of going down the list here. I'm not going to talk about everyone. I talked a lot about Edgerrin Cooper yesterday. So if you haven't checked that episode out yet, you can check it there. Just didn't see it's really hard. I say this all the time. When there's 50, 60 guys that are flowing around and you're trying to catch everything, it's tough to catch everything. You're just not going to. So there just wasn't the plays today that I saw anything from Edgerrin Cooper, good, bad, or indifferent. That wasn't a bad day. Wasn't anything. I just didn't see anything. So nothing to report is how I would say it. Tyron Hopper and Evan Williams. I think these are the two that a lot of people point to and say, Green Bay overdrafted them. They were over aggressive. They didn't need to draft them. They're going to be bust. This was stupid, whatever the case may be. I think because we looked at it, right? And like the first 4 picks that they had were all right around that consensus. Like their last few picks were, players that dropped and everyone thinks that they got steals with those guys, with Pratt and with Kalen King. Then it's that middle group that everyone's like, I think Green Bay got a little bit, maybe ahead of themselves or tried to do something that they didn't need to. I'll say this. I have no idea how the careers for Tyron Hopper and Evan Williams are going to end up. It takes you all of a handful of seconds watching these guys to quickly, and I mean quickly, understand why Green Bay wanted to draft both of those players where they did. I've just seen them in person. And again, everything here today is not going to make or break anyone's career. Nobody won starting spots. Nobody is going to now be a generational talent in the NFL. Nobody's going to be a bust in this past weekend. But what you're always looking for here is first impressions. And I was really, really impressed with Tyron Hopper and Evan Williams all throughout the weekend. So whether they overdrafted them or whether they were reaches at those spots, all you want to see is, was there a vision behind this? Was Green Bay overthinking this, or can you confirm, yeah, I get it? And this was a very clear and obvious, no rose-tinted glasses, just, yeah, I get it. I understand exactly why they like both of these players. On this particular practice, they both combined on one particular play to break up a pass, which was great. You could just see the speed of both of them flowing to the football. Hopper had a really impressive run stop on Marshawn Lloyd. So Lloyd all day was getting to his spots wherever he wanted to. It's a stretch play to the left, and Lloyd is getting out there. And we talked about the speed and he plays it. Hopper just cuts it off, takes a beautiful angle, roams from his middle linebacker position, and stops Lloyd for what would have been a 0-yard gain or a tackle right at the line of scrimmage. It was a really impressive play from Tyron Hopper. Williams, the other thing that really caught me about Evan was his ability to communicate. Like, you would have swore just listening to him on the field that he already had like a PhD in the defense. Now, it's a very vanilla day at the office, I'm sure, for the entire defense. I'm sure they're not putting in super complex schemes or anything like that. But Evan Williams out there communicating everything, telling people where to be on the field. You could just tell like the passion. Like, you can tell this guy's, I think he was a 3-time team captain prior to playing at Oregon in his final season. I think it was Fresno State. It was a 3-time captain at, maybe it was 2-time, whatever it might be. You can tell he has that sort of captain DNA written all over him. And just that extra communicativeness was really impressive from, again, these are rookies coming in. It's hard like to take that leadership role from like day one and be like, yep, I'm going to like call things out and do what we need. You could just tell he had a great understanding of what they were trying to accomplish and really communicating that out on the field. Both of the players were extremely active. Williams got a little time in the slot as well as at safety. Hopper was in on another pass breakup as well, which was impressive. Evan Williams in the tackling drill. This is a really fun one. So they're doing like a 3-on-1 sort of tackling drill. I think it was more of like a special teams drill. So one person's like emulating being like the returner, and then you've got like 3 players that are flowing up the field. And the first one, Evan Williams does it, and it's perfect. And the coaches are giving him a ton of praise for how he handled that particular rep. And then he comes back and he does another one, and it's picture perfect again. And again, you can just tell that he has a unbelievable understanding of the game and how it's supposed to be played. And, it was literally teaching tape stuff from Evan Williams in these tackling drills. So that was another thing that really impressed. So overall, 2 days, Tyron Hopper, Evan Williams, the two guys that were overdrafted and Green Bay didn't know what they were doing, they, to me, might have been the two biggest standouts over the last 2 days. So it was really impressive days from both of those. As I've mentioned yesterday, those are two of the ones that are coming up for my deep dives, and I am beyond thrilled to jump into both of those. So those should be out. All right, we got to think through this. We've got Marshawn Lloyd that'll come on Tuesday, which would mean Hopper would be on Wednesday, and then Evan Williams will be on Thursday, barring any unforeseen circumstances. So definitely look forward to those coming out next week. Michael Pratt, mostly a nondescript couple days from Michael Pratt. I was really impressed with his operation, meaning how he came in, commanded the huddle, got everyone lined up. His cadence felt like he had been there for a few years already, like just getting the green 18s, the blue 52s, like all of those down already. He canned a couple play calls at the line of scrimmage, which I was impressed by. It just felt like he had an overall command. And again, I'm sure very, very vanilla, but for what they asked him to do, it didn't seem like anything was over his head. And it felt like he was able to go out there and execute everything that they asked him to execute. He had a really nice throw over the middle of the field on Saturday's practice. Really good timing, really good accuracy on the play. And again, you love seeing those quarterbacks throw those accurate throws over the middle of the field. He did miss on an open deep shot down the field that he would love to have back, I'm sure. But overall, seemed confident, seemed in command. His technique and his, overall mechanics are going to definitely need some work over the course of time. He's nowhere near a finished product as you would have completely imagine at this point, but solid, unspectacular, fine, good, whatever you want to call it. Just kind of a little bit nondescript, but again, very impressed with his overall ability to run everything that they asked him to run, with the cadence, with getting everyone in and out of the huddle. That stuff was really, really good from Michael Pratt. And Kalen King, he did get beat on a 9 route early in practice for a big gain. That was one that I'm sure he'd like to have back. It wasn't necessarily terrible coverage. It was a good throw, good catch. He was playing outside corner at the time and just a pure 9 route. And Jacob Eason got it over the top and really nice catch by Hightower on the play. But that was one he got beat on. Very last play of practice, they come back. They try to throw a 9 route against him. King has fantastic coverage. He runs the route for the receiver. Had the ball been placed on time and accurately, King would have been in perfect position to pick it off. It just had been overthrown. Otherwise, like I said, King would have had every right to that ball. So that's what you're looking for. Can you learn? Early play, he gets beat. Second play, comes back, same 9 route, and he's all over it and in every opportunity to pick it off had it been a more accurate football. He played outside. He played in the slot, so we saw a little bit of everything from Kalen King. And I did feel like he had very natural feel for press coverage. They used him in press, both in the slot and in outside, and that's how he got beat on the one play. But overall, you could tell he felt very confident and comfortable. Sometimes you see corners who didn't play a lot of press coming out of college come in, and King did. He did definitely play some man-to-man. But sometimes you see these corners come from college and they hadn't done it a ton and they just look completely lost. King looked super comfortable and confident playing that style of football. All right, a couple of the other guys that were not rookies. Jacob Eason, thought he had a really nice couple days, acquitted himself well. As I mentioned, he had that really nice 9 route that he threw with perfect accuracy, complete right down the sidelines, allowed his receiver to catch the ball in stride and get his 2 feet in without really having to, toe drag or anything to get those feet in bounds. Whether or not they offer him a contract or not, or whether he was just sort of this mini camp arm that they needed to give Michael Pratt another quarterback in camp, we will see. But I thought he had a really nice couple days and definitely did not look out of place by any means. Jarvian Howard, I talked a little bit about yesterday. He had another couple, runs that displayed his really good burst and acceleration. He is straight line speed. As I mentioned yesterday, he does not have that agility testing. Now, I haven't seen him do anything where he needed to change direction. So I can't report from on the field of dude just can't change directions. But the testing would indicate he doesn't have that ability, but we'll see. But overall, that speed and burst, it played. You could tell he got a couple creases and he just exploded up the field. So that was impressive to see. He tested in the low 4.5s in the 40-yard dash. I think he's got a chance just to kind of be a runner that would work in this system. He should really come in and have the potential to compete for one of those running back spots if he can have a really good OTAs and mini camps. But he's got enough of that speed where it at least showed up in rookie mini camp. Ellis Merriweather, another running back that I thought had a really good day. He had multiple runs that went for big yardage, and you could just see a little bit of I would say a wiggle from him that I didn't necessarily see in later last season. Now we didn't get to see a ton of Ellis Merriweather because he was picked up late last season, or mid-season, I should say. And those practices, we basically just get access to warming up and then some individual drills. So this is really kind of our first access. I did watch Ellis Merriweather from some of his preseason and college tape in the past, as I did my episode earlier this offseason of players that you've never heard of or don't know anything about. And I didn't think that he necessarily had that, but I thought these couple practices, a couple really good runs, showed a little bit more burst than I thought he had in the past. And like I said, a little bit of wiggle as well. So nice couple days from Ellis Merriweather. Jack Daly, defensive lineman out of Florida International, had a massive day. He was constantly, and I mean constantly, in the backfield. Now, he is a tryout player. Apparently, he is set to try out with Buffalo as well. With their rookie minicamp coming up. We'll see if Green Bay wants to make him an offer prior to him heading to Buffalo. Maybe not. We'll see. But he was constantly in the backfield, in the run game, in the pass game. The offensive line could not block Jack Daly. He was a tryout player, as I mentioned, 6'3", 312-pound defensive tackle. He is built like like SpongeBob, or it's just like that big square body, a little Tyler Lancaster to him. But it was, like I said, had this burst through the backfield. I posted one clip of him if you want to go check it out on Twitter. A 2.57 relative athletic score, 25th percentile athlete at the position, and did not do agility testing. Tested 13th% in the vertical jump, 12% in the broad jump, and 9th% in the 40-yard dash with a 5.45 40. So this is not your usual explosive Packers player, which is probably why he was a tryout player, not an undrafted free agent, and certainly not a draft pick. Don't know what his odds are of gaining a spot, but hey, he had himself a heck of a day and was just beating up the offensive line for a good hour in those team drills and practices. A couple other ones, Grant Dubose, really quiet couple days, had a drop on a slant route for a 7th-round pick from a season ago who's in his second rookie minicamp and is in his second year. I was hoping for a little bit more, especially for a group of wide receivers that have no rookies in it whatsoever, a group of tight ends that have no rookies in it whatsoever. Like, he should have been the playmaker in this camp outside of Marshawn Lloyd. Like, he should have been, and he just wasn't. So he's got a really tough job of trying to crack that 53-man roster with all the unbelievable wide receivers that he has in front of him. He's going to have to do a much better job in training camp, OTAs, mini camp, if he wants to make a name for himself and try to get on that 53-man roster as a wide receiver. Brian Hightower, the wide receiver out of Cal, he was the one that had that deep ball catch over Kalen King. That was the only time I really saw him on any particular play, but ran a nice route, got past King, accelerated, really kind of walled off Kalen King and stacked them, and then made that catch, got his feet in. Really nice play overall by Brian Hightower. And then Dimitri Stanley, the star of day one of rookie minicamp, didn't have quite the day on day two, but was open deep for what probably would have been a would-be touchdown. But unfortunately, Pratt missed him on that play. Otherwise, we would have had one more big play from Dimitri Stanley. That pretty much does it. Those are all the kind of key players that stood out and all the key takeaways. The Packers do have a full roster at this point. So if they do want to, add any of these players that were tryout players, they will have to make some cuts in order to open up those spots. Whether or not a Dimitri Stanley or a Jack Daly get a roster spot will remain to be seen. But kudos to those guys for at least going out, making a name for themselves, and maybe putting themselves on a radar for a future practice squad spot in season if Green Bay has something open up. But either way, that's all you can do is go out and put your best foot forward, and those guys definitely did. My overall impression of the 2 days was kind of, as I mentioned at the onset and what Wes mentioned, thought this was a really competitive, energetic 2 days of practice. It felt like Green Bay got another batch of football junkies, like guys that eat, sleep, breathe football, that just want to be ingrained in it, that want to continue to, that's the feel that I got. Guys that want to do really well at football, that are motivated by it. You could just see, like, Javon Bullard was going over and shaking, hands with the coaches and trying to get more coaching. Like I said, Evan Williams was constantly communicating. Michael Pratt was in charge of the offense already and making checks and cans at the line. It just felt like they got a really good batch of rookies that want to do well. And like I said, are all about the sport and should fit in extremely well in that locker room. Next practice that is open to the media will be OTAs on May 20th, 21st, and 23rd. So we've got a little over 2 weeks before we get another opportunity to view a practice, but that will obviously be a lot of the veterans, and hopefully everyone just shows up and we don't have to talk about who's not there and can just talk about who is there. Packers assistant coaches will be meeting with the media this week on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, with the coordinators meeting with the media on Monday. But that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Appreciate you checking out the episode. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for checking it out. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, leave those 5-star reviews. And of course, make sure to check out Pack a Day Podcast YouTube memberships. Shout out to our Hall of Fame and All-Pro members, Most Hated Minnesotan, PJ Wynn, John Wild, Shea Dad, Brandon Paletta, Jennifer Wright, Boom Handle, Donald Lee, Lori Lord, Baby QB, David McCluskey, Donald Decker, Bremen, David Prendergast, Dan Miller, Alex Wong, Arnaldo Espinoza, and Michael Shipper. I will see you guys tomorrow. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.